everybody. Hello and welcome to Biters. This is Diane.
And this is Marnell. And I think I might be recording this episode.
And we're dealing with some new technology, so hang in there with us.
We are. I'm on my new laptop. I've got my new setup and everything. It took me about 5 minutes to hear Diane, so this is an improvement.
Yes. Actually, speaking to one another is good.
But I still haven't got the Libsyn feed thing yet, so we might have a delayed episode after this one. So Bear with us.
And I'll try to remember to put that in the posting notes on the Biters Facebook page as well, so that people get that message. But
cool.
I think this is probably as good a time as any to talk about World Beyond and Fear. Do you?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So, after a lot of discussion, and after definitely on my part, and I think it's fair to say on Marnell's part, some frustration with Fear and with World Beyond, we have decided that we're not going to cover those series.
Yeah.
So we're going to finish out Biters with the last season of Walking Dead. And, we're going to kind of see where things go with the spinoff and the anthology series.
Right.
But I think it's safe to say we're both pretty disappointed in Fear and just never really got fired up about World Beyond.
Yeah, the advertisements make next season look good, but that's 8 seconds in an entire season. So that you can kind of make 8 seconds of just about anything look good. So, yeah.
And I'm kind of indifferent about World Beyond. I'm super sad about Fear because I definitely have some strong positive associations with Fear. I'm going to miss Mo Collins. I'm going to miss Jenna Elfman. I'm going to miss Coleman Domingo. But,
I'm miss Alicia.
I'm kind of over it.
I'm itching to rewatch The 100. I love Alicia. So, yeah. I have... Even though we've heard or seen nothing about it, I have really high hopes for the anthology because I love a good anthology.
Yeah. I mean, I think of the old days of Creepshow and I'm like, all right, I could potentially buy into it.
Old days. There's a Creepshow on now.
Oh, yeah, that's true. It got a reboot. I haven't watched any of the reboot. I probably should.
So I actually haven't watched any either, but I've seen advertisements for a couple of episodes, and every time I see an advertisement for it, I'm just like, oh my God, that looks like a really good show. What is that? And then of course it's Creepshow on Shudder. I'm like, well, of course.
And Kaylee Fleming was in an episode.
Okay, you know what? I did see a couple of the very early episodes. I don't know if we're in season 2 or whatever, or if they're even doing seasons, or if it's just truly yeah. But yeah, the episodes look really, really good. I think that's probably going to be the next thing that I watch, even if it's just the thing we watch for background while we watch TikToks on our phone.
Hey, if anybody is still out there actually listening to Biters, y'all have permission to laugh at me, but I am re-binging Glee. And I am enjoying the heck out of it. I'm totally enjoying it. I guess it's just my jam right now.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm shaking my head at you.
I have to tell you, a certain very burly man who is way stronger than I will ever be watched the first episode with me, and he was laughing out loud yesterday.
Oh my goodness, you're turning him into a Gleek.
It made my little heart happy.
I could totally see Eugene and Stephanie being Gleeks.
Oh my God, that is so funny. I'll never get him far enough in Walking Dead to know who Eugene and Stephanie are, but I may pass that on. He's still disgusted by the slow-ass zombies, his words. So... all right.
We are here to podcast season 11, episode 5, Out of the Ashes.
Yes, and I think I went first last time with ratings, didn't I?
I think you did, because I actually went back and listened to our episode of Ashron, and we will get to the reason why I did that later, because I hate listening to myself.
Right, okay.
Um, so I rated this episode the same as I rated like the last two episodes. I rated it 4 beautiful eyelashes.
Who has...
So
Oh, Mercer has beautiful eyelashes.
Mercer has eyelashes.
Yes. I was like, wait a minute, does Negan have beautiful eyelashes?
What was your rating?
I rated it quite a bit lower. And I feel like I need to justify this by saying I am going to steal the language that you usually use. For me, this was a very middle book episode. And now it's actually kind of making me rethink my rating of Rendition. I'm like, should I rate Rendition even lower than I rated this episode? Or should I go back and rate Rendition higher? Because it was actually a better episode than I thought because I was so impassioned about it, even though I was really mad. So I'm not really sure where my rating of Rendition stands, but this was 3.01 Gus Morgan zombies out of 5.
Oh,
It was
wow.
really meh for me.
So I will tell you that Rendition has been the lowest rated episode of the season thus far with a 7.8. And of course, ratings are all based on how many have rated it. So right now it's got a 7.8 with about 3,100 ratings. Out of Ashes has an 8.3 with just over 2,250.
Huh.
So, yeah. Acheron Part 2 has been the highest rated. It's a 9.0 right now. So
Is that the one that you went back and watched? Or listened
it's
to?
yes, it's the episode I went back and listened to the Biters episode for.
All right, I have to apologize in advance. I'm kind of sniffly. No, I don't have COVID. I'm just a little sniffly, and it's kind of been a chronic thing, so I'm not sure what's going on.
Fall allergies. I've been sniffly lately too, and we are squarely into fall.
Oh, we are squarely into winter here. All right, it is September 21st. There was snow on the ground in several communities, one as close to us as 10 miles away.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. September 21st, and we had significant snow on the ground. I would imagine by the end of today, most of it melted. But yeah.
Oh, no, it's just monsooning here again.
We're definitely headed into winter.
Oh, yeah.
It's depressing to say it's September 21st and we're headed into winter.
I know. I am missing the crisp fall air with the cold, clear days.
Yeah.
None of that here.
No, none of that here either.
keep your phone plugged in because the power is going to go out.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've got some numbers for us. Rendition had 1.88 million same-day views. Out of the Ashes, we actually had a rating. It had that rating for Out of the Ashes. It was 1.91 million views. It's actually creeping back up toward the number that we saw with the season premiere.
Interesting. I wonder why.
I don't know. I don't know if I just don't know what to think that people are thinking about this season. I read Eric Kane's review, and I'll talk about that in Whisperer's Corner. But I never thought I would say that I'm getting more and more drawn into his perspective. But I am. Which is kind of awful. Yeah.
We only have 3 episodes left this year.
Right.
Yeah, episode 9 is in 2022, so...
And we'll have to talk about, do we want to do a couple of one-offs while we're waiting for Walking Dead Season 11 to come back? Do we want to focus on Real Housewives? We'll have to kind of talk about what we want to do and let the biters know.
I at least want to do Train to Busan 2.
Is it out yet?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I haven't watched it, so...
I think it's on Netflix.
I'm trying to get a certain really burly dude to watch Train to Busan 1 with me, so...
Fast zombies.
I know, I would like to redeem the zombie genre, so... All right, so title. For me, Out of the Ashes really referred to Hilltop.
Oh, yeah.
Because Hilltop was burned, right? And it was really the good and bad that they found coming out of the ashes in Hilltop So the good was that, they were potentially able to scavenge some things. The bad was that the Whisperers were there.
That, and I have to say that was kind of good and bad because, of course, we open on Aaron's
His
nightmare,
dream. Yeah,
which
yeah.
includes like the last 3 or 4 bad guys. We had
So there was
Walkers,
actually an
Wolves.
article that talked about it, and I wrote
Yeah.
the information down from the article. So
So Walkers, Whisperers, Wolves, and Whistling, which of course is from the Saviors.
no, so there was more than that.
Oh.
Generic zombie,
Right.
the wolf, the saviors,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the saviors were characterized by a person and by Negan's whistle, the Whisperers, and then actually Maze, which was the character played by Robert Patrick last season.
Right. I actually had to go back and rewatch that
Oh, I didn't
10
go back.
times.
I read the article.
But the kind of good and bad of finding the Whispers at Hilltop was you were sort of able to unmask the bad guys, Scooby-Doo, he had this whole image of these terrifying Whispers, and lo and behold, they were just people trying to survive, and they were, even more pathetic than our group is now, having been so beaten down and, being starving at this point. So it was kind of something he needed to see, where men are the monsters, but the monsters are usually men,
So that is an interesting perspective, that it was something that he needed to see to kind of take the teeth out of that nightmare. That's a very interesting perspective. I would not have thought about it that way.
It was when he looked back at the Whispers and after they
were
at
leaving. The end as they're leaving Hilltop?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He looked back and he was just kind of the look on his face was kind of he felt more sorry for them than, was scared of them anymore.
Huh. Very, very good perspective. Good find.
It's what I'm here for.
So our writer is a woman named LaToya Morgan. She has written 2 Walking Dead episodes. This one and The Guardians, which was season 9, episode 12, and it was a really Whisperers heavy episode. She has written for Into the Badlands, a thing called Turn, which was about spies. I believe it was an AMC property. And then Shameless. And I have to be honest, I can't remember who got me watching Shameless, and I didn't finish. I watched the first season or maybe part of the first season, but it was really funny.
It was not me.
Well, I really like William H. Macy.
Right.
And he plays the father who's got dementia happening.
Oh.
It's really funny. I mean, if you're looking for something that's just totally not your standard fare, that you're looking to laugh and kind of have something quirky, it's really funny. Yeah, I'm not sure who got me watching it. I'm not sure why I fell off, but it was good. I might actually have to revisit that.
Oh,
go ahead.
Turn had always kind of been on my radar. And I thought that, the guy who played Bill in True Blood was in it. I swear he was in it. Now I cannot find him in the cast at all. But yeah, AMC always made it look good. So, but I just never got to it.
And now there's Glee. So our director was Greg Nicotero, and of course I'm not going to belabor who Greg Nicotero is, because if you're this far in and you have questions, I think you need to start back at season 1 and re-binge. So
he was the guy that played the zombie in the first scene, right?
Right? Oh my god, I looked at his IMDb picture tonight and I was like, he looked so young and his hair was so short. I did go back and I was like, what are some of my favorite episodes that he's directed? And I really kind of focused in on season 6, episode 16, Last Day on Earth, which is where our people are in the clearing with Negan, and it ends with him taking a bat to we don't know who. And then season 7, episode 1, The Day Will Come When You Won't Be, which is where it's revealed that it's Abraham and Glenn.
Right.
And I know that those were really polarizing episodes, but, you know, they're... As rendition proved to me, episodes are polarizing for a reason.
Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, I think it's always good if you love it or if you hate it. If it's just meh, it's like the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference, you know?
And, you know, as I was reevaluating my reaction to rendition, that's completely accurate. I was definitely not indifferent to that episode. All right. You suggested our featured cast. I did want to say, you know, when I wrote down who we decided to do, I was like, but there are other people like Lance Hornsby and Pamela Milton and Tommy and, you know, there's a bunch of new cast, Steve Baldwin. Bunch of new cast.
So, our featured cast member is Shel Ramos, who is playing Stephanie. Have you Googled her?
I didn't Google her. I just looked at her IMDb, and then I actually Googled the thing that is announced but not done, the project that's at the very top of her IMDb.
Okay. So when you looked at the news for this episode, did you see anything about her?
No, I did not, because the news is, I'm not going to use my big girl words, a mess.
Okay.
It's really hard to sort through the news anymore, and I think it's part of it's because, you know, these episodes are releasing rapid fire. There's not really a normal release for when the episodes come out anymore because, you know, some people have it on Friday and some people have it Sunday and some people have to wait, and so the news is just all over the place. Anyway, you have something to say about Shel Ramos.
Yes. So I picked her as our featured cast member, and when I was looking through the cast list for IMDb, when I went and looked up Shel Ramos herself, there may be a spoiler in this for future episodes. So if you do not want to hear the spoiler, 3, 2, 1. So the news that was sort of leaked, maybe possibly by accident. I don't see how this stuff happens by accident, but there are 2 Stephanies that are credited in this episode.
Okay, I saw that on the IMDb page for the episode, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
And Steve and Diana have actually talked about it a little bit.
Okay, so there was a press picture that was released of Eugene and Stephanie walking through Commonwealth eating their ice cream, and the caption on the picture was Eugene and Stephanie decoy walk through Commonwealth. And so it seems to be that when we podcasted Acheron, season 11, episode 2, Acheron 2, about 41 minutes in, I thought that maybe this Stephanie was still a catfish. And so I kind of think that Shel Ramos is Stephanie's catfish. Yes.
Well, so Steve and Diana agree with you that there is something hinky going on with Stephanie. No, I did not say kinky. I said hinky. So
the other Stephanie, did you kind of catch who she was?
I didn't explore it further. I was still like, what the what? There's 2 Stephanies credited.
Yes. So the other one is Stephanie Vega, and she's played by Margot Bingham. And she was the woman who was getting the ice cream when Stephanie and Eugene were getting ice cream.
That's really interesting because when she was at the counter, I was like, is that Stephanie? That doesn't totally look like Stephanie, but it kind of looks like Stephanie. And then it
sort of
pans
had a
over to,
moment.
pardon?
Eugene and other Stephanie sort of had a moment.
Right. Right,
Yeah,
because he
he was
said
like, "Is
something
that
about the
Rocky
Rocky
Road?"
Road ice cream. Yeah.
Yes. So, and there was a thing on the radio between those two about Rocky Road ice cream. So, yeah, I
Nothing is throwaway, Steve, Diana, and Marnell.
So, Shell Ramos, maybe Stephanie, definitely who is playing Stephanie right now. Um, so she comes from, according to her IMDb, she comes from a small town in Pensacola, Florida. She is of Asian and Caucasian descent, allowing her to play an array of ethnicities, which I totally agree. Um, her first onset experience was a movie Chatterbox. After getting a taste of the industry, she kept her curiosity to keep exploring. She had trained closely with Adam Stoner, and an original member of the prestigious New York Film Academy and Artsake Studio. Um, so she actually has quite an IMDb history. I did not recognize her, but I've actually seen her in quite a bit. She has been in an episode of NCIS, no Law and Orders.
Right.
She was in a movie with Al Pacino and Carl Urban called Hangman. And she has been into Marvel properties that I recognize. Cloak and Dagger, which actually started out really good. I don't think I watched either. There's 20 episodes, so I must not have watched the second season. But she was in Cloak and Dagger, and she was also in The Gifted, which are both Marvel properties. And she was also in a television show called Shades of Blue with Jennifer Lopez and Ray Liotta. So, I mean, she's got quite a bit of acting chops underneath her belt. So I was really surprised I did not recognize her from The Purge season 2, because I love all things Purge.
Yes, I figured you would know her from that. I'm kind of I'm not surprised. I guess maybe I'm not surprised that you didn't know her as the actress, but now that you're like, oh yeah, The Purge.
So what's funny is her IMDb profile talks about how she can play multiple ethnicities, and she usually seems to have a Hispanic name. And like looking at her IMDb photos, that seems to be kind of a lot of the roles she plays. And so she's quite the chameleon. That's one of the reasons why I kind of had a hard time picking her out, is because there were two Stephanies and I didn't know which one I was looking at.
I will say, by the way, that her picture on IMDb, she's beautiful. They are really downplaying her beauty. They're really dressing her down.
She is definitely gorgeous. Her Instagram handle is Shell Ramos 24. And she has a TikTok. She only has 2 videos up,
God,
but she's already
that's
got over
hilarious.
2,500 followers. She's also at Shell Ramos 24 on TikTok. And she is also on Twitter, Shell_Ramos 24. But her Instagram says that she is a raw foodist. So I found that interesting.
Oh, you crazy kids in your TikTok.
I love that stars are getting TikToks. This is the 3rd or 4th one now that has a TikTok. And they don't have very many videos, but yeah, they're pretty good. So yeah, that's really all there is that I found about Shell Ramos. And so one of the reasons why I definitely wanted to profile her as our featured cast member is I don't know how much more we will see of quote unquote Stephanie.
Well, I just want to add one thing. So I was sucked in by what is her project that is slated to come out but hasn't come out yet, and it's called Long Slow Exhale. So I clicked on the IMDb link. There was nothing. I Googled it, and it's a women's basketball drama that was made for BET. I'm like, well, that's not where that name led me, but okay.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So.
You know, I'm not a big sports ball, but of course it's chicks, so maybe we'll check it out.
Well, you know, if it was the ice puck, we might be talking. All right. Whisperer's Corner. So I know that we said that we weren't going to podcast Fear or World Beyond, but this headline jumped out at me when I was looking for news, and I was actually kind of grossed out just because I thought I didn't really need to know that. But now I'm going to put it in all of your ears too. So Nico Tortorella, who I can't even remember the name of the character that he plays on World Beyond. He's the young, handsome dude. And I shouldn't say he. Yeah. Nico goes by they and them.
Yep.
Yeah.
They and them.
So the headline is, Nico Tortorella says they only have sex with their spouse to get pregnant. So now you can all know that too. I didn't need to know that. Yeah. I'm like, yucky. No,
I wonder why they put that out there.
Yeah, no, thank you. My niece always says to her dogs when they're misbehaving, no, thank you. That's kind of where I'm at with this headline. No, thank you.
Moving on.
Moving on. Okay, so we already kind of alluded to it in our ratings, but Gus Morgan, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and Hillary Burton's son played the taunted boy zombie. And Hillary and JDM are very, very happy and very proud.
So if you could ever call a zombie adorable, he was kind of adorable.
I have thoughts about that. Not about his adorableness, if that's a word, but just about his role and the kids that were taunting him, and I have thoughts about that. We already talked about Aaron's dream and who all of the different people were. I have to say that when I saw the W carved into that person's forehead, I was like, what? Are we really going back there? And then I pretty rapidly realized, oh, this is a nightmare. Okay, I'm good with it. But when I first saw the W carved into the person's forehead, I thought, oh, come on, you guys.
Oh, for some reason, I caught on immediately it was a dream sequence.
That's because you've watched Nightmare on Elm Street too many times.
It did have that red glow.
It did. It had very different lighting. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So did you by chance catch Talking Dead?
I didn't. I told you, for some reason my feed for Talking Dead, and I don't think it's me personally. I'm sure there are other people who get their Walking Dead through Amazon who are having the same experience. I don't get it in a timely fashion. So I'm like, I can barely get the episode in. I'm not going to mess around and wait for Talking.
So Chris read off some viewer feedback, like I think on Twitter. And I can't remember who said it, but it was hilarious. They were like talking about Judith putting the sword to the kid's neck, and he's like, a little bit of her dad showing through, Shane.
That's funny.
So Insider has a article titled TWD Kaylee Fleming says Rick is still Judith's daddy, even if Shane is her biological dad.
Oh, that's funny. That's very funny and very true.
Yes. Yes. Just like Michonne is her mom.
Okay. The only other thing I have in Whisperer's Corner is I did find Eric Kane's review of this episode. I didn't find anything by Paul Tassi. He referred to this as The Good Place. Which, I mean, you've watched that show, right?
I love that show.
I watched a few episodes, and I'm like, it's all right.
It's funny.
Yeah, it's all right. But I'm watching Glee, so who am I to say anything? So he was making a reference to Commonwealth, and he was like, but basically his review was pretty harsh, and I'm just gonna read the things that I wrote down, probably because I relate to them. Something something is off this season. It's weirdly boring and slow. It's a little dull, a little uneven, and shockingly slow paced.
Okay. All I gotta say is I told you last time when we read an Eric Kane critique of how slow the show is going. We have 24 episodes this season. Give it time.
I know, but it's also the last season, so you really want to take this out in a big way. It came in with a boom, you want to take it out with a boom.
It's practically 2 seasons long.
Fair enough. It is practically 2 seasons long. And it's going to feel like 4 seasons by the time we're done.
Yeah, we're not going to be done until like 2023. So for as much as people may or may not be disappointed that we are not podcasting Fear or World Beyond,
I think probably may
we're
not.
Going to be here
Thomas O'Mara. All right. So what's your good?
So my good was actually a very small good.
As was mine.
I absolutely, like, every time I see Princess, like, she just lights up the screen. And this episode, her, like, flirt distracting with Mercer, I loved it. I loved it. I love, there must be a gym around here because your chisel is perfecto.
Yes.
I love it. And then, like, the eyelashes and so did you watch the commentary after the show?
I did, yes.
And so God, why can't I think of her name
Angela
now?
Kang.
Angela Kang, thank you, talking about how they just kind of have this, like, this interaction, and it's kind of based off the $2 bill. It had to have been Mercer that made sure that $2 bill got back to her, because she mentioned it in her interrogation. And, like, I can't see the 2 pencil pushers that were interviewing her getting the $2 bill back to her, but it was very important to her. She had this whole story about her first job and everything, and he paid attention.
And he seemed for a minute like he was kind of intrigued with her flirtation. Like, very briefly.
He had a little glint in his eye
Yes, he did.
Eyelashes.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Very, very briefly.
So I mean, it was just a small moment in the show, and it just makes me smile. Like, I love Princess. So that was my good.
All right. Well, my good is also very small, and it's kind of ephemeral, but we may have a Connie sighting. I mean, you and I didn't actually have a Connie sighting, but Connie has been reported to be alive.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So I was like, does that mean the Eternals is finished filming? So then I looked up the Eternals, and the Eternals actually looks like it's got a really good cast, and I'm sure that we've talked about it before, but hang in there with me because we're going to talk about it again. So it is supposed to release on November 5th of this year. I'm not sure if it's just releasing to the theater or if it's going to the theater and then, like, to HBO Max or something like that. I guess it's a Marvel property, so it would probably go to Disney Plus. Anyway, Angelina Jolie, Richard Madden, who actually was in the first season of Loki, Kumail Nanjiani, Lauren Ridloff, right, Connie,
Mm-hmm.
Salma Hayek, and Kit Harington.
Wow.
And there are a couple of other folks listed in the cast who I don't recognize, but it's a pretty impressive cast.
It is. I didn't even know about those last 2.
Oh, Salma Hayek and Kit Harington?
Yeah, I can't imagine who Salma Hayek's playing.
I don't know. I don't know the Eternals. I don't know the comic book, so I can't really weigh in. But anyway, I'll probably watch it.
So there was did you and I talk about this? There was a article on Cheat Sheet about Angelina Jolie helping Lauren Ridloff on the set.
Yes, we did talk about that.
Yeah, I
I don't
just
think
thought
we
that was
talked about
really
it
cool.
on pod, but we talked about it.
So there was a lot of times that Lauren Ridloff had to kind of act facing away, basically facing a wall. I'm sure because a lot of stuff was green screened. But of course, being deaf, she couldn't hear cues. And so Angelina Jolie actually thought of like, why don't we use a laser pointer
Oh,
to.
I didn't Phil share this article with us actually, and then I was like, "Is that a thing?" And he was like, "Apparently it is."
I think he did. You're right. I think Phil did share the article with us, and I actually read my messages and read the article.
No, everybody stop for a minute. Marnell does not read her Facebook messages. She
I don't.
doesn't.
I
Usually I'm
don't.
like, you really need to check Facebook Messenger like 3 days ago.
Yeah, so I am Diane's personal TikTok curator, and Diane is my Facebook Messenger alert.
I think you have more fun.
I am the younger sibling. We are usually the irresponsible ones, so.
Well, I'm being irresponsible now.
I'm checking my messages regularly. I just see the one between you, Steve, and Diana. I just like I saw it, but I didn't read it because I like you. Yeah,
It was
you
the
were.
one where I was whining about being exhausted about podcasting Walking Dead.
Yeah. So
Sorry, guys. The truth is out. I'm sure you realized it by now. I'm kind of burnt out on podcasting The Walking Dead, which is really a giant bummer because I was so passionate about this series for so long.
so speaking of bad things, my bad. So I why is our group such a bad influence on people? Like, why we always got to go places and cause trouble?
Oh,
Like,
are you talking
we
about
are
Commonwealth or?
Commonwealth. We are in Commonwealth for 5 minutes, and already we're getting arrested, and we have one of the Commonwealthers like doing our dastardly deeds. Like, I'm just like, oh my god, we are the bad guys. We're the
Well,
terrible influence.
if you, Steve, and Diana are right, it is actually that Stephanie is a terrible influence who is leading our group astray by pulling Eugene around by the short and curlies.
So, yes, ultimately that's what it will be. But I just feel like, we always talk about how like we went into Alexandria and just like leveled the place,
Yeah.
took over, and like now there's like two people that are still alive from original Alexandria. Hilltop's burned to the ground. Like we're terrible. We're the bad guys. And of course the other voice in my head always says, well, of course these things would have happened without us because the wolves would have gotten into Alexandria, the whisperers would have gotten into like all these other groups would, the saviors were already in Kingdom, and the Oceanside ladies were hiding from the savior. So I mean there was already bad stuff going on, but I just feel like everything we touch dies. And of course, if what is true about the Commonwealth will be true about this Commonwealth, like it's probably not a bad thing, but I'm just like, oh my god, we've been here for 5 minutes and we are already in handcuffs. So that was my bad, is I'm just like, oh my god, you guys, like, can you behave like just for like a day? No.
I'm telling you, love takes you to strange places. What can I say?
In the immortal words of Buffy, love makes you do the wacky.
Oh my god, I love that. That's hilarious.
All right, what was your bad?
Well, so I said we would get to the Gus Morgan zombie. And this is not a diss on Gus Morgan at all. I mean, you're right. He was lovely. Have we not learned that taunting zombies is a bad thing?
Apparently, these bullies haven't learned that.
Carl got Dale killed in season 2 by taunting that zombie.
I forgot
Uh-huh. Taunting zombies is a bad thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, we're already having them pile up on the wall, which, 11 years in, we know is a bad thing. And so now we're just going to taunt them and, like, make them pile up on that one spot even more. Yeah.
And, this is rotting potpourri, and I'm going to say it anyway, because, here we are. Are the walls really that fragile? I mean, there was part of me that was like, really? We let the walls deteriorate that badly? But then there was another part of me that said, all right, how far are we into the zombie apocalypse now? And it's fair to think that things are going to be breaking down on a massive scale.
And, yeah. And I mean, we've had, from what we learned, the Whisperers did go in and screw with Alexandria anyway. That was Jerry's whole thing with finding Nabila's scarf in with the Whisperers.
Right.
Is they were obviously there and, burning the crops and tearing down the walls and trashing everything. So with Alexandria's walls, it doesn't surprise me because one of my biggest complaints about Alexandria's walls from the very first time we see Alexandria was that they were braced from the outside.
Right. That
just seems like a recipe for disaster.
And apparently so.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a good way of keeping things out. And especially, too, when things can climb up those braces and just jump right in. It's not how you build a fence, to keep things out. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so, what's your ugly, and is it a good ugly or a bad ugly?
So, as per usual, it's sort of both. Originally, it was a bad ugly. But after seeing Angela Kang talk, I calmed myself down. So I really actually did not like the scene between Judith and the bullies.
Okay.
Just and Pollyannish was the wrong word. Not Pollyanna McIntosh, Pollyannish. Pollyannish I figured out is the wrong meaning. She was more
Do you mean Pollyanna-ish?
Yes.
Okay.
She was a little too whiny goody two shoes in the scene, and I honestly that's the way it was written. It's nothing against Kaylee Fleming, but the whole you shouldn't be doing that. I'm gonna tell Rosita. I was just like, oh. And then I listened to Angela Kang, and I'm like, yeah, for as much as we like to think of her as a little adult because she does adult stuff, she's a kid, so I calmed myself down. And then I was also like, oh man, when Aunt Maggie finds out what they did to Judith, they're not going to like what Aunt Maggie does to bullies.
Yeah, Gage, I'm not sure that Judith will tell. She
straight up killed Gage.
Yeah, but I'm not sure Judith is going to tell.
No, I don't think she will. I honestly think that some other way the bullies are going to get their comeuppance, And Walking Dead has a very long memory, Gage. But I honestly think it'll probably be sooner than that. And I kind of hope it is because of the payoff of because man, not only with pushing her down and being no wonder why your mom ran away, but then breaking the wood planks with her and Carl's handprints. I welled up just a little bit in that scene because
oh my god, cold and dead inside. You welled up.
Seriously, that is a total dick move. Okay, you push her down and you kind of make her cry about her mom and her dad leaving and everything, but destroying the last physical thing she has from her brother. Kind of besides the hat, but the hat was her. But yeah, So I kind of wasn't digging the scene with Judith and the bullies, but Angela King talked me back on that one. So good and bad, ugly. What was yours?
Mine was a good ugly for all that it was a bad thing. So I loved how debased Aaron has become. We went from happy-go-lucky NGO guy who was saving everybody to I'm going to let a zombie bite your hand while I'm torturing you, and then I'm going to give you a knife, and you can cut it off if you want to yourself, or if you want me to do it, I will. It just, so he's sunk so far, and it just shows how feral he is and how he will do anything to protect his group.
So I kind of feel like he's taken on sort of like a little bit of Rick.
I was going to say that's a very Rick characteristic. He is very much channeling Rick right now.
Yeah. So Talking Dead, they had two nicknames for him, and I can't remember the first one, but Chris Hardwick was like, so are we going to see more of this? What was it? Darren. It was Darren, because Dark Aaron.
Yeah.
Or Scary Aaron.
Oh, that's funny.
Darren and Scary. So that was the two nicknames that they had for Aaron, and the answer was yes. He is in a very dark place.
He's in a very dark place. I mean, and they certainly foreshadowed it with his nightmare, but I didn't realize how debased he was until he tortured that guy, Keith.
Yeah. And we've definitely seen the progression, but I think because he's basically in charge now, like he's the center of attention, so it really is very apparent that he is not the clean-cut, khaki-wearing Aaron of prior years.
Well, and with him being the center of attention, he is also under tremendous pressure. Right.
And wasn't there commentary from Angela King about sort of he's kind of got this weird feeling around Gracie basically being, the saved child of the saviors that they killed. Yeah. So, I mean, there's all kinds of crazy psychological things going on with Aaron. Losing his husband and gaining a daughter, through not the greatest of means, but, he definitely loves her and, wants to protect her and everything and fears for her. We saw that in the, not only the nightmare, but when they wake up and the walkers have broken through the wall, and he's like, do what we practice. You're gonna go to the basement and you're gonna not let anybody in. Do you have your whistle? I don't know what the whistle's for, by the way.
Yeah, you're gonna scare the walkers away with it.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, help, I'm in trouble, but that's actually just attracting the walkers. So yeah. I mean, yeah, maybe but she's hanging out with Judith more, so maybe she'll do some training, and she'll be a little more self-reliant, like Judith. All right, I think that's squarely us in rotting potpourri. Potting ropery.
All right, and I am going to be a total hard ass and say it is 9:30 on a work night, and I have to be up super early, and so do you. So we are going to cover some rotting potpourri, and then we're going to call it a night.
Okay. So the Commonwealth, I call it the Commonwealth MLM timeshare video. Like, I felt like I was being either indoctrinated into an MLM or being sold a timeshare in the early 2000s.
Community caregiving security, the Commonwealth way.
Fight the dead, save the living.
Yes. Now, did you notice that was a callback to season 3, where the thing that they said over and over to advertise season 3 was "Fight the dead, fear the living."
Fear the living.
Yes,
Yep.
I actually have a poster that says that on my wall. So,
Speaking of posters, did you notice all of the Commonwealth stormtrooper propaganda all over the Commonwealth? There were posters and banners and, and plus there was tons of Commonwealth soldiers, like, just roaming the area. I'm like, okay, I don't even think we have that many police in Juneau, let alone people that are just standing around armed waiting for something to go down.
I will say I noticed all of the soldiers. I did not notice all the posters and propaganda.
Yeah, so I got this sort of like Nazi Germany vibe from it, where it was like, do the right thing, report your neighbor's misdeeds, like it was squicky. Yeah.
Huh. So, the thing that I noticed about the Commonwealth propaganda video was that I'm not entirely sure that Lance Hornsby, the director of operations, is from the comics. I don't think he is, but it's been a while since I've read that portion of the comics. And Pamela Milton is, in fact, taken straight from the comic book.
Mm-hmm. So my theory on this Hornsby dude, so one of the things that Stephanie says is Hornsby is somebody you can trust, but you will have to pay for this one way or another. And so I kind of think that Hornsby wants to be the Pamela, like he wants her position, and like he is just sort of angling for a way to get in, and be the head honcho. And so I think he's like the face of the Commonwealth, but he's like, I want real power. And so that's what I think this whole thing is building up to. And I think he put Stephanie up to it.
I am letting you know that your time is ticking.
Well, that's good because I don't have a whole lot more. I think the other really big thing that I have is why is Negan such a quitter all of a sudden? Is it because he's with Maggie and that's really uncomfortable for him? Because he just seems to be like, no, let's cut and run. Let's cut and run. Let's go. And granted, he wants to cut and run back to Alexandria, but he's just ready to totally be like, no, they're like 45 minutes late. Peace out. He just, I don't know. He's a quitter all of a sudden, like, and that's not him. I don't feel like.
Sorry. A little distracted.
Texting.
I am. You caught me out.
So there was one moment where Maggie and Negan were arguing that they were like got into that shoving match. And like my second watch through, like they had this like hardened look on their face, but it was one of those moments where if it were any other two people, I would have been like, okay, this is playground stuff and they're shoving each other and they're about to kiss.
Oh, people are totally shipping them. I mean, there's stuff on the internet about there's some tension between Negan and Maggie that could mean, and I'm like, oh, please. There's no way Maggie is going to get with the dude who bashed Glenn's head in.
Yeah, no, zero chance. But it was this weird moment, and I didn't notice it on my first watch through, but my second watch through was like, if that were literally any other two individuals in this show. Like, I mean, even if it was like not their game, like if it were Aaron and Negan, I'd have been like, those two are gonna kiss. But no, it was Maggie and Negan, and they're definitely never kissing ever.
Yeah, ever.
Yeah, no. For as much as I ragged on Lydia in prior seasons, I do have to say that her call at Hilltop was a good call. Like, everyone was ready to go kill the walkers in the distance, and she's like, hold up, they're being herded.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that. I loved that she kind of got to shine for a second. It was like, hey, based on prior experience, I'm pretty sure there's a whisperer over there.
Okay,
So
you
I
gotta
thought
let
that
me
was
get a word in edgewise, because just because I said that I'm counting you down doesn't mean I don't have stuff for writing potpourri too.
I thought you were distracted, so I was just going to carry the rest of the show.
I was briefly distracted. I got a picture of a Halloween costume.
Okay, what's your word, edgewise?
So one of the things that really bothered the heck out of me about this episode, and I was gratified to see that Eric Kane had the same thoughts. There were 4 storylines going on in this episode. We had the kids, we had the trip to Hilltop, we had Negan and Maggie, and we had Commonwealth. And I was like, that's too much crammed into one episode. That's too much to try to balance in this episode.
That's probably why it felt a little bit middle bookish, is it was just like, okay, we gotta like touch on all these storylines so we can like take them somewhere or not next
But I mean,
episode.
literally at one point I was like, who are Maggie and Negan supposed to be meeting again? And then I was like, oh, Gabe!
Right?
You know,
Right.
I mean, it was really frustrating.
Yeah.
And I mean, I actually was watching and I was taking notes and I was paying attention, and I just felt like they tried to cram too much into it. I mean, the story in Hilltop could have been an episode by itself. The story in Commonwealth could have been an episode by itself.
I agree about the Commonwealth one. I think that could have been an entire episode by itself. And it doesn't look like we're getting any of these 4 storylines next episode. It's going to be Connie-centric.
Oh, it's Connie-centric. Okay. Mm-hmm. I wasn't sure if it was going to be Connie-centric or Daryl-centric. I hadn't looked that far ahead, but I assumed it didn't have anything to do with any of the survivors that were in this episode.
Yeah, no, the advertisement after the episode and then on Talking Dead, it's nothing but Connie. Next episode is called On the Inside. Escaping from walkers, Connie and Virgil hide in a house occupied by mysterious creatures. Yeah. Oh, I guess we're getting Daryl next episode. Pope tests Daryl's loyalty to the Reapers.
So we're going to split between 2 storylines, which is a little easier to manage than splitting between 4 storylines.
Okay, we're getting 3 because Kelly leaves Alexandria in search of Connie.
Oh, God. We've got 24 episodes, so let's make them all crazy and frenetic like this one.
Right? So, I have
5 minutes, Marnell.
Yep,
5 minutes.
I have one final bold prediction, and then I am done. And it's not so much a bold prediction as I really hope this doesn't happen. For some reason, seeing the next episode that's going to have a huge Connie storyline, I don't know why my mind drifted back to Beth. And I was like, okay, they better not pull a Beth. We better not get Connie back, only to have her die in the arms of her loved ones. Like, that better not happen.
Well, I mean, The Eternals isn't a series, it's a movie, so I doubt it.
I mean, there was no good reason to kill Beth either. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I agree.
So, that's my bold prediction that I hope doesn't come true.
All right. I do have a couple more things for all that I'm like, 5 minutes. So, don't you think that our survivors would have gone through Hilltop before they abandoned it and killed off all of their friends who had become walkers? I mean, they wouldn't go back months to years later and be like, hey, there's Troy!
Had they been back since the war?
But don't you think that they would have, once that battle was done, gone through, like anybody does with their soldiers, and triage them? So. Can they be helped? Do they need to be put down? You know.
And what can we salvage from?
Yeah.
No, I totally would have believed that they had gone back to salvage whatever that they salvaged now. Like, it was very surprising that wasn't already done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Diana and Steve made that point too when they were getting ready to record, and I agree with that. I don't want to steal that because I would have stolen that from them. It was probably your original thought for all that you're on Facebook. So I was shocked by Yumiko's brother, the thoracic surgeon, working in a cake shop.
I know. I was like, wait, what?
And then I read an article that basically said he didn't tell anybody from Commonwealth that he was a surgeon, and he doesn't want Yumiko to rat him out because he doesn't want to do that.
And she totally already has twice.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I loved in the orientation when she didn't get an assignment, and the guy from orientation was very flippant to everyone. He's like, ask your assignment coordinator or whatever. And he like totally didn't even look up at her when he's like, your assignment coordinator will answer all your questions. And she's like, I didn't get one. I got this letter. And he was like, oh, really? What can I help you with? He was like totally interested in her after that.
Immediately snapped to. They're setting it up. They haven't done a great job demonstrating it yet, but they're setting it up. And in the comic book, Commonwealth was very much a caste system. So,
yeah, I remember Angela Kang saying that.
Yeah, completely hierarchical based on what your education is, what your role was in your previous life, and I hope they do a good job of demonstrating that.
And they kind of touched on that in their interviews when I can't remember if it was Yumiko or Ezekiel who was like, BS, you guys still need janitors, And I was also thinking this episode before Angela Kang pointed out that it's a caste system. I was thinking, okay, so does the pencil pushers in orientation who wear the suit and tie, do they get paid the same amount of money as the girl scooping ice cream in the truck? Because we've determined that they definitely have a monetary system. So I was like, okay, is this like a minimum wage situation? Is this a minimum income? Like how is this all working out? Because it seems totally like a Norman Rockwell painting. Like everyone is happy, everyone is dressed well.
So that there's something deep, dark, and horrible underneath it. Yeah. It's totally Woodbury without the zombie gladiators.
Yeah. I mean, when I saw a kid running around chasing a ball with a page boy cap, I'm like, something's afoot.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
The last stuff that I really have to say is I liked the interactions between Judith and Rosita. I'm really liking the way that they are playing Rosita this season. And I was really frustrated that, of course, as Eugene, is trying to talk to Rosita, the radio connection fades out before he can get any of the updates about what's going on in Alexandria.
Yeah. And I couldn't tell if that was deliberate or not, where I think it's like Stephanie set them up to, get caught.
Eric Kane is suggesting, in fact, that is the case.
Okay. Yeah. I kind of feel like, okay, we're going to let them commit the felony, but we're not going to let it go any further than, they're not going to get any information out. So,
the last thing I want to say is I thought it was really funny when Keith told them about seeing Connie, and then Lydia flips off with, good thing you didn't kill him.
That was funny.
All right, that really is all I have to say, and we're wrapped up pretty close to when I asked you to be because of the late hour at which we are doing this.
Yeah, and I had some technical difficulties starting, so
right.
My bad.
Because this may be the last episode that we get out before our feed gets cut off, I will try to get this edited and up tomorrow so we can still get it onto the feed.
And I'm going to probably play with GarageBand and see what I can do about starting to edit. So,
and maybe see if you can find a way to contact Libsyn.
Yep. But so hopefully it will only be about a week before you hear from us again. But in case it's not, just remember, take it one dead day at a time. Have a good week, everybody.
Have a good week. Bye.